Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss some data which the government have just published, which shows just how much we're being ripped off in this country when it comes to energy bills, and how there appears to have been a huge acceleration in this rip-off when the Tories came to power. But first, for daily political commentary, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So the government published some data yesterday, includes a number of international comparisons of domestic and business rates for energy. Now, I'm going to focus on domestic because that's what really hits home to most of the public. But it is worth bearing in mind that really high business and industrial rates for energy are what have put a lot of people out of business. It was especially noticeable that when the cost of energy skyrocketed in the wake of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, despite Boris Johnson insisting that we had almost no reliance on Russian oil and gas, lots of pubs, restaurants and farms in particular really struggled. Many couldn't overcome the struggle and had to close down. So the fact that our energy prices are so high for businesses compared to other countries, that's a huge barrier to economic growth. But politically, domestic rates are easier for more people to understand because we all pay them. So let's take a look. Now, first of all, there's a comparison with the IEA. Now, that's the International Energy Agency, not the lunatics at 55 Tufton Street on this occasion. It takes the form of lots of advanced economies around the world, but of course, mostly in Europe. And there's a few useful columns at the end of the main worksheet highlighting that we are consistently ranked close to the bottom compared to other countries. But a really amazing column shows our prices as a ratio of the IEA median rates. It begins in 2008, so that was when the banking crisis was really hitting. So at that point, we were 14.3% above the median. It drops a little over the last 2 years of Labour government to 9.6% and then 7% above, but then jumps up to 14% again after the first couple of years of a Tory government. But from then on, it increases by a lot each year until 2015. Where it reaches 59% above the median. 59% above the average of comparable economies, most of whom are on the same continent. And even though it didn't go up each year from that point, it not only remained really high, but got higher. The peak was 2022, unsurprisingly, where it hit 90% above. So at that point, the cost of domestic energy was almost double the average for other IEA members. And you can't say, oh, it was the invasion. That affected everyone else as well. Last year, it was 64% above. That's over 4 times the rate above as when the Tories came to power. And I note there's some data missing from the odd country here or there for the odd year. But as all of those countries I've checked have lower costs of energy than we do, actually, if that data were to be updated and included, the figure would look worse for us, or it could do because it's the median we're taking, not the mean. But it could easily look worse. It certainly wouldn't look better. In fact, if you look at the sheet, which includes taxes, because I've just been quoting figures there from the one that excludes taxes, which I shall continue to do so, but just quickly looking at that one. For that, we're not 64% above the median. We're 80% above the median for the IEA. Once taxes are included. Basically, in the UK, we are paying way more for our energy than other advanced economies, including many in Europe. In fact, including all of the major economies in Europe. And you think, well, how did this happen? Because the important thing to note is that when I'm talking about these comparisons, so it's not just our energy prices increasing a lot. You know, this is a comparison with other countries. So what we're saying is that the increase in energy costs for us was way higher than for other countries. Why? Well, and this is not something the likes of Nigel Farage or your average Tory MP wants to hear, but it's because they cut our renewable energy programmes at the same time as other countries were powering up. See, the Conservatives, particularly over the last few years, have often liked to talk, I've noticed, about the UK being a world leader in renewable energy. But they were often trading on the legacy Labour left them. By the time they've left power, that legacy is no longer ahead of the pack as it once was. Because what some Tories and all of the Reform UK representatives claim is that net zero will make us poorer and colder by increasing energy bills, but the opposite is actually true. Why did energy bills go up so much in 2022? Because of disruption to global supplies of oil and gas, not solar panels or wind turbines, And because the price of energy in this country is set, it's benchmarked at the most expensive way of making energy, which is from fossil fuels. So the moment the cost of say, gas goes up, the cost of our energy goes up. It's a reliance on fossil fuels that cause those prices to go up. Earlier this month, there were reports of a record number of hours where energy prices were negative in Europe. And you go, how can energy be a negative price? They're paying you to use their energy. Yeah, it happens when you've got a large amount of energy being made from renewable sources. It happens when that renewable energy production exceeds demand. The reason energy prices have risen so much in the UK compared to other countries, it's not just because we let massive corporations take the piss, because that happens in other countries as well. It's because we stopped developing our secure renewables capacity. You know, let's look at a few specific examples. So France, you always have to go to France first. It's the most similar to the UK, isn't it? Roughly the same size economy, population. We're right next door to one another. So any environmental factors hit one, hits the other. We pay twice as much for our energy as France, which has actually in the last few years taken its main energy supply, EDF, into public hands. So every time we're paying energy bills, particularly if you're an EDF customer, you're actually paying, you're subsidising French energy bills. Huh? But also, France's cost of energy since 2008, that increased by 152%. What's ours in comparison? 206%. Spain's increased by 117%. Italy's by 122%. So they think, oh, so ours has increased way more than, never mind the IEA median, even these wealthy countries in Europe that are most comparable to us. So then you think, well, what about Germany then? I mean, they suffered most from the reliance on fossil fuels from Russia, didn't they? But their domestic energy prices have increased by just 136% since 2008. Ours 202. I mean, you know, the comparison, 206%, sorry. The comparisons, there's a gulf. And in each case, it's not just that the percentage increased in our own prices was so much higher than for other countries. The raw price is higher as well. Like the cost of energy right now, this is excluding taxes. I'm still using the data here, excluding taxes, so not to muddy the waters, but it gets worse when you add taxes on. After all the disruption to fossil fuel supplies, we are 26% more expensive than Italy, 36% more than Germany, 63% more expensive than Spain, and 103% more expensive than France. Back in 2008, it was our prices were at least cheaper than Italy's, right? And much closer to the other countries, though still more than most, as I said. But don't expect this to be reported very much, if at all, in the mainstream media, because one thing I've really noticed since Brexit, it became very obvious during Brexit. This has presumably been happening for a very long time, but I noticed it with Brexit, is that our news media rarely draws comparisons between the cost of our living and that of similar economies, similar countries, because that would expose the fact that we're being ripped off. Because people would then say, if you pointed this out, well, why are things cheaper in these other countries then? And when it comes to energy prices, that rip-off massively ballooned in size when we changed to a government which started to block renewable energy projects. And I'll tell you something, it's going to be very interesting to see what this trend looks like after 10 more years with a government which goes the other way. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can join for memberships. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.